Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 27th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to the roll call of members. Madam Clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Gentry.
Present.
Jane Taylor.
Present.
Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Present.
Alan Milburn.
And Al is absent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting.
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Motion a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, motion a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, move on to department head reports now. First up is the police department. Chief Wormuth.
Good evening, everyone. During the period between August 13th and today's date of August 27th, the Lebanon Police Department responded to 800 calls for service, and a total of 37 persons were arrested for the following crimes: possession of marijuana, 1; possession of a controlled substance, 1; unlawful possession of syringe, 2; possession of methamphetamine, 5; maintaining a common nuisance, 1; wanted on a warrant, 14; possession of alcohol by a minor, 3; operating a vehicle while intoxicated, 3; driving while suspended, 2; battery, 2; domestic battery on a child, 1; invasion of privacy, 1; trafficking with an inmate, 1. A total of 4 handgun concealed carry licenses were issued by our office. On August 14th, Assistant Chief Bailey attended a public health opioid conference, and on August 21st, Patrol Officer Tyrese Griffins attended a training class in Indianapolis titled Officers in Court. This time there is nothing else to report. Oh, excuse me. We're still collecting applications for hire for the Lebanon Police Department. We don't have many. Right now we're about 25 applicants in, so we're going to keep it open until we get a bit more of a pool. But all those interested, please feel free to contact me directly at the Lebanon Police Department, and I'll answer any questions.
And what are the requirements for that again, Chief?
21 years of age, U.S. citizen, no felony convictions, and a valid driver's license.
And do you have to be under a certain age too as well?
Excuse me?
You have to be under a certain age as well too? Right?
Yes, under the age of 36.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Chief? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Works meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 137 emergency calls of service, logged 445 training hours, performed 57 commercial inspections, installed 2 car seats, and participated in 1 public education event. August has been a very busy month with educational opportunities. Starting off on Tuesday, August 14th, myself along with Deputy Chiefs Baird and Wiry attended a 1-day class at the Indianapolis Fire Department on fire dynamics and controlling basement fires. Deputy Chief Robert Wiry, Lieutenant Kurt Gott, firefighter Jason Adams, and firefighter Matt Young attended a 3-day class at the Indiana Arson Conference. Topics included expert testimony, report writing, legal considerations, and the uses of arson as a cover-up crime. This week is very, very busy. We have several firefighters in a company officer academy. Those firefighters are Jason Adams, Jacob Fussell, Chris Wiley, John Thompson, Brandon Beasley, Jared Orem, Jason Hendricks, Matt Young, and Adam Walker. This class is preparing these firefighters to move up in the ranks with the hopes of becoming a lieutenant. Many of them are currently ride-out officers with us. That means that they've met certain criteria where they can ride in the officer seat when the lieutenant and captain are gone. On August 13th, firefighter Wes Banker graduated from the Indianapolis Fire Department Fire Academy. Wes was placed on C shift on August 15th, and he's doing a fantastic job. Very happy with the product that we received from the Indianapolis Fire Department Academy. Beginning last week and ending this week, we are hosting a class with the Center Township Fire Department. This is on drafting and dump tank operations. Interlocal training provides operational continuity between different departments, and the end result is just a seamless product that we can give out to the taxpayers. This Wednesday and Thursday, we are doing our agility testing for our hiring process. We have approximately 53 applicants that will go through the agility test portion of the hiring process. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Chief Batts. Any other questions for the chief?
No.
Any questions from the public?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Knew I forgot something the first time. Next up, Parks Department, John Messenger.
Good evening. This weekend will be our last weekend at Seashore Water Park. Our last day of the season is Monday, September 3rd, my birthday, by the way, so we'll close the pool after my birthday. Yes, we want to thank everybody for another great season this year. We're fortunate with good weather this year, and want to thank all our summer staff for all their hard work. In fact, I believe you were out there yesterday with your wife. If I'm
I
not
did,
mistaken.
yep.
Got a little
red. Yep.
Got a little nice sun going on there. But the temperature was 84 and it jumped 3 degrees from yesterday till today. So just to let you know, might have felt a little bit chilly at 84.
I liked it. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Yeah, it is refreshing. Anyway, our first ever mother-son superhero party went very well last weekend. We had around 230 attendees, and our guests enjoyed games, face painting, hot dogs, Kona ice, crafts. They also got to meet Spider-Man, Batman, and Captain America, and those guys were great. I got to say that. Looking forward to doing this again next year, and hope we have a bigger crowd. I'd like to also thank Farmers Bank for sponsoring our face painting, and Tad Brainer for sponsoring our superheroes. Our dates for Fright Forest this year will be October 25th, 26th, 27th. We are currently looking for volunteers for all 3 nights. We are looking to add scenes as well as guides for the Fright Forest. Great weekend, great event. We would like people, if they would like more information to help us out, come in. There's just a little bit of waiver to sign and also background check that we do on all our volunteers in the park. Just a great time. So it's a good weekend. Nice to have a lot of help. So if you can volunteer, we sure could use you, Dick, to be out there escorting people through. Lebanon Youth Football and Boys Girls Club Soccer are both kicked off their season. They're practicing in games during the week as well as Saturdays. Please be aware of the increase in traffic at Abner Longley Park and also Reese Park. So quite a big crowds there, especially on Saturdays. Splash pad at Abner Longley Park, restroom at Memorial Park, and maintenance barn addition are all in the engineering stages. Moving forward with those, really looking forward for those amenities coming in. Also meeting with contractors right now at the former Conservation Club for a dog park. So those are moving forward. Looking forward to all that. We are currently repairing sidewalks at Memorial Park along with a host of other ground chores that we're doing. Be many more projects going until the winter falls. Please be mindful while using our parks and be careful. We do have it all marked, but don't want anybody to get hurt. Our next park board meeting will be September 12th at 7 p.m. at the here in this chamber. We changed it from the first Wednesday, so I want everybody to be aware of that. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
All right, next up is Engineering Department. Kevin Krulik.
Good evening, board members. Updates on projects around town. East Street, nearing the completion of that. All punch list items have been complete since we last met. With the exception of one drainage dispute that we've got, some people may have noticed at the corner of Howard and East Street, some water that stands in the curb there for longer than it really should. Regardless of the resolution there, I'm confident with the work that we've already done that there is no fault of the city or no expense for the city in the resolution of that drainage problem. This is basically an issue that is being argued between our engineer and our contractor. It's one of their faults. It's not ours. Either someone didn't build to the plans correctly or there's an error in the plans and they're pointing fingers at each other right now. So we have agreed to work together and get that done, and but go ahead and close out the remaining portions of the job. So later tonight, one of the items on the agenda would be for you to consider change order 5. This would be the last change order for that job. In addition to just sort of zeroing out all the quantities throughout the job, this is a unit price bid job, so this is just closing out all the pluses and minuses that are associated with those contract unit prices. I will not, in the interest of time and sanity, go through every little detail of the 400 and some line items in that change order, but I can assure you this is a fairly standard practice for closing out a lump sum contract. I will say, though, there are 5 items on there that are not part of the lump sum contract, or part of the unit price contract, excuse me, I said lump sum earlier. One is some saw cutting at one of the retaining walls on the north end of East Street. That's for $1,200. Happy to report, though, that will be paid by CHA, but we do have to put it into the contract change order for the purposes of closing things out. Then there's some additional time and material removal and replacement of landscape block throughout the project that we were keeping track of. In addition, we had one additional sod mobilization to complete some sod work in front of the armory, and that was just so that we could pull off prom in an orderly fashion and not have everybody standing in the mud. So we did authorize them to spend a little extra there, $600, to get the sod in before prom, and then come back to finish the sod up in 2 phases. So that's the nature of that one. And then there was some removal and replacement of curb across the front of the armory, similar to the drainage problem that we're talking about at Howard Street. This was again an issue where we had to argue this out with the contractors. It clearly wasn't our fault. And in that one, there was about $1,250 to replace that curb, and that will be paid for by the engineer. So there's about $6,793 in that change order, in addition to the closeout items. $2,450 of that will be paid for by the contractor, or by the engineer, excuse me. But more on that change order later in the agenda. Moving on, Northern Interchange feasibility study, no real updates to supply you with there. Look for more information to come as that develops. Downtown plan, there's a lot going on with our downtown action plan. Happy to report that as of early this morning, Main Street is open to traffic. All the pavers, the trails, the curbs, the sidewalks, the ramps, those are all complete at this point. And that is, as I said, ready to drive on, ready to park on. You can also now get access into the courthouse from Main Street, although you do have to walk up a couple of steps to make that happen. There are some temporary steps there until the county finishes their ADA update for the courthouse. There were steps there before, but these are some wooden steps that are temporary that you'll be walking up. But that side of the courthouse is now effectively open for business. We have turned the corner, so to speak, literally and figuratively, on the project, and we are working on Meridian Street. So we began milling Meridian Street off today. We milled off probably 4 to 5 inches of asphalt that was on top of some older brick street pavers. And we've also begun doing some test digging through the bricks to look for all the water main locations, to find those ahead of time so that we can have all those locations figured out before we start the water main installation, which will begin in the coming days. Again, seismic monitoring stations have reported no significant vibrations to warrant any cause for concerns for the courthouse or the surrounding buildings. We'll continue to work, as I said, on demolition and water main installation this week. We are also working on the west side of the courthouse as well. There we are removing the old concrete wall and the sidewalk south of the lead walk that goes up to the courthouse. So this is along 39. We will be working to re-pour those foundations, or pour new foundations for our limestone seat wall, as well as do those walks. So the idea, though, is that we will work south of that entrance to the courthouse. We will keep that entrance to the courthouse open and we will not go north of that entrance until the south one is complete. So the idea is to do the west side in sort of 2 phases. This is all while work is ongoing on Meridian Street. Other work that happened or we're preparing to happen in the coming days is the alley concrete south of Main Street. So those forms are up now, and we're working on pouring that concrete, putting in trench drains, getting ready to put pavers down, as well as lighting in that alley. All the light pole bases are in, or light pole foundations, excuse me. So that alley concrete work will happen this week, and we're getting ready for pavers to start going down next week. Work continues. I mentioned the Boone County efforts. Work continues with our contractor in Boone County and those negotiations to include the replacement of that southerly courthouse entry walk. Again, this is subject to Historic Preservation Commission review and approval. They've had one meeting there. They went to subcommittee. They're being forwarded back to the full committee and expected to get their approval next month. Again, look for updates from the contractor. Look for weekly and updates there. Look for daily updates from the Heart of Lebanon. Again, just remind everyone to continue to support your downtown businesses, especially as we move around the corner. Our places like El Chisme and Samson Leather and Patrick Office Supplies and Merle Norman, they could use your support in this difficult time. We'll make it as convenient as possible for everybody to get there. We'll maintain the sidewalks to all those buildings and maintain pedestrian access at all time. We're also happy to work with any of those vendors, those business owners, and making sure they can get deliveries. We're already making arrangements to ensure that trucks can be unloaded by our contractor and that business can proceed as normal. But remind everyone to continue to support those businesses. Pavement resurfacing throughout the street. Last time we were here, we opened up quotes on some street repaving projects that you had previously authorized. There were 20 separate projects. We got 4 quotes. We requested 7. 4 contractors submitted quotes. Grady Brothers was the apparent low quoter, and they were low on all but 3 of those 20 projects. There was one project where Baumgartner Asphalt Paving was also low, and 2 projects, excuse me, where our local Triangle Asphalt Company was low. So we'll be talking more about that later in asking your permission to award and enter into contracts there and get those projects moving. Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2. Remind everyone there is an RFP on the street for construction inspection that was recently posted about a week and a half ago by NDOT. And so the consultants are continuing to look at that, and we intend to have a consultant under contract for that work by November 7th. That is our date that NDOT has given us that we need to be ready for contracts to begin construction in the spring. There is also one item that will be considered later in the agenda. This is a zero charge work order, or a change order, excuse me, for Butler, Fairman, and Seifert for right-of-way acquisition services. Again, that's a zero charge changeover. Just has to do with documenting the fact that one of our properties in the process is split into 2 properties. That's the old electrochemical building. There will also be later in the agenda, we will be asking you to consider a utility reimbursement agreement for Lebanon Utilities for approximately $128,000 for relocation of electric poles. I should also remind everyone that there may be further reimbursement agreements that we are considering for water line work, but that will come in the coming days. A couple other miscellaneous projects. Our Grant Street project, again, not slated for construction for a couple of years, but we are working with NDOT to finalize contract approvals. Those contracts will come back to you before they are issued for approval to NDOT and before NDOT would fund any of that design work. Some private development projects ongoing. Just a couple to note. Sunbrook, this is the residential development that is near Witt Road and 250 North. First phase plans were filed for TAC last week, and they'll be going to TAC next week. And then we've also seen the primary plat for Drake Estates. This is a new residential subdivision at John Bart Road and Fordyce Road that is also going through the TAC process. So a lot more construction to happen in the coming days, weeks, and months, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any questions?
I have no question, but a comment. I go down East Street quite a bit, and I really like the way it looks. I did see that water spot here the other day, and but I was down there today, and thank God we put that stop sign in the middle of Essex Street and East Street, because I saw the stop sign, but I was driving through there and I saw everybody coming, and my thought was, keep right on going. Then I saw the stop sign, and I could see it from a distance. I knew I had to stop. But I thought, boy, it's a good thing we got that stop sign there.
Good point. I neglected that in my report, but it's worth noting for the public to hear that there were some new stop signs that went up around town last Friday. There is a stop sign, a three-way or four-way stop, at Essex, or what is now Tiger Way, and East Street, as well as over on the west side of town at Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue. So there's a new three-way stop there. There's another less public stop, but it's at Witt Avenue and Clear Vista Drive in the Clear Vista subdivision. We've also made that a three-way stop. So be on the lookout. We've tried to warn people of those things and put up stop ahead signs, but definitely some changes in your driving patterns.
It was funny. I felt safer with the stop sign there because both of them were teenagers.
When they stopped, right? Everybody stopped?
Huh?
Did everybody stop?
Everybody stopped.
Okay, so good. They're using that supposed to.
Well, and I should thank the high school. They were very accommodating in making sure they put out announcements to their students the day those were going up. That was probably our biggest concern at Tiger Way and East Street, that some less experienced drivers might go through those without paying attention. So, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. Did we approve those signs being put up?
The city council does.
They did.
Oh, the city council?
City council did.
They were approved via ordinance that required an ordinance.
Any stop signs are all ordinance through city council. Yeah. All right. Any questions from the public? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, planning department. Ben.
Good evening. Planning department continues to remain busy. Kevin mentioned a couple of projects, and there's several more on the horizon, so we expect a busy fall and then into next spring. So a lot of exciting things to come. In terms of our regular operations over the last couple of weeks, we did complete 30 additional building inspections, and many of those in the business park for the Monticello project. We're doing a footing inspection about every day of the week, so that project goes forward. We've also issued 20 additional permits, including some commercials. So again, some exciting stuff coming. As far as code enforcement, we continue to remain busy. We've got 2 people essentially full-time addressing code enforcement. So a lot of trash and debris, vehicle complaints. I'm getting a lot of calls in the office, people asking questions about that to receive letters. So I know we're starting to have an impact on some of those things. So continue to see those things. And if you get any questions about the code enforcement, feel free to send them my way. I'd be happy to answer any questions. In terms of our comprehensive planning process, that continues to move forward. Our consultants are essentially right now assembling the comments that they received from our public open house a few weeks back, and they will be scheduling another steering committee meeting in the first couple weeks of September, and we'll present all that information to the steering committee and start moving forward with establishing some goals and objectives for the plan. Just another reminder for the public, we do have a website now for the planning process. It is LebanonRedefined.com, and that will be where we'll post all the information about upcoming meetings, information from past meetings, draft information, all that good stuff. So that is a good place to go for public to be able to follow the process. We'll also be doing some small, short surveys on a weekly basis to continue to get feedback from the general public. So that'll all be housed in that website. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next up is Street and Stormwater Department. Dave Newell.
Hello, everyone. Now, let's see. The Street Department and Stormwater Department have received 46 additional calls since our last meeting. 35 were for brush. 2 of those calls were for dead animals. Let's see, we had 1 for road repair or pothole call in, and then we had 2 calls for the road to be swept. Let's see, the street department crew has been mowing easements and all of our other mowing spots as well. Get that on a continuous cycle in the summer. The street department's been out picking up limbs and brush with the chipper truck. might be a delay with that. Our chipper went to Vermeer to get worked on today, so we'll be back out there, but be a little bit. We did measure uptown on Washington Street for striping, and then we went ahead that evening or the evening after and laid those out, applied the new striping. We ran it to the mayor and his wife up there. They're running the town. We continue to have the street sweeper out sweeping on our schedule when we can. We delivered the barricades uptown for the Oktoberfest on Main Street. It was moved around a little bit, but we made it. We hung up the back to the 50s banners, only up in our 4 spots. We usually do uptown and all that. With all the construction, we just did it on the outskirts of town so we can advertise for them. Let's see, we continue to put up our new street signs and poles that we had ordered, and we have them in stock. We did have a tree fall down again across Ulen and Elizaville roads. We just got our part off the road, and then Ulen took care of their part. And the stormwater crew, they repaired 5 catch basins since the last meeting, so they're hard at it as well. That crew continued to cleaned out the storm structures and drains with our vac machines. We keep using that as much as we can to get our drains cleaned out. And they keep cleaning off the debris off the lids for these heavy rains we got like over the weekend. Let's see, they continue to do our storm pipe and drain inspections on our new construction. Tom's taking care of those with his guy that's usually with him. And we do our weekly inspections as well. Make sure MS4, silt fence, stuff like that's up. Take care of all those. And the street and storm is hiring 2 people, 1 for each department, but they'll share the work, of each department. We just work together on all of them. So just to get that out there.
Okay.
That's all we have.
If people are interested, they just contact you, or how do they get hold of the street department?
Yeah, they can come in the street department and get a application. We might have to mark out the typing part.
Okay.
But we're good other than that.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll spread the word on that one. Any questions for Dave?
Thank you.
Any questions from the public?
We did put that in social media with Joe for the hiring. So.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Speaking of Joe, is currently coaching a tennis match, so he's going to be absent tonight. He'll give another report here coming up in September. So that will conclude department head reports. I don't have any old business, unless there's anything from the board. Okay, we'll move on to new business then. Kevin alluded to it earlier. The first item up I have here is the street paving project's quote selection. Turn it back over to Kevin.
Yes, thank you. I mentioned this earlier, but we opened quotes at the last meeting for our street repaving program for 2018 and 2019. I do say both years appropriately because the contracts will allow them to complete the work between now and May 1st of next year. We extended that just because we know it's late in the year, contractor availability is tight, and wanted to make sure we gave them ample opportunity to get those done and to hopefully get the most competitive pricing we could. As I mentioned earlier, we solicited quotes from 7 contractors, 4 submitted quote packages. These were quote packages that included quotes on 21 street segments, segregated into 20 separate projects. And the last time we had overall numbers as we opened those quote packages, and the low quote was Grady Brothers. As I said, though, we reviewed all 20 separate projects, and in looking at the details of the quote numbers that they submitted, Grady Brothers was successfully the low quoter on projects 1, 2, 4, 5, then 7 through 12, 14 through 21, and we also had 1 low quote from Baumgartner Asphalt Paving Company. That's project 6, West Pearl Street, and 2 low quotes from Triangle Asphalt Paving Corporation, 1 on South Ryan Street, project 3, and 1 on project 13, South West Street. So again, when totaling up the accepted low quotes for all 21 projects, the total project cost is $1,104,156.70. So we are asking tonight for your permission to award these projects based on the bid tabulation that I have just presented. And we would ask that any motion for that award would include authorization for the mayor to execute the contracts. Contracts were provided by the city as part of the quote packages, so there's no real contract negotiation required. We just need to execute the contracts based on the scope, which would be the projects that the contractors were individually responsible for being low on.
Okay. Any questions concerning that for Kevin? I know we did this bidding a little differently this year, so we actually bid them out all individual projects. Any questions or concerns from the board?
What's the reasoning why we couldn't award all the projects to Grady Brothers? Is there that much difference in pricing?
There's not a big difference in pricing. I guess project by project. Project 3, South Ryan Street, they were at $38,000. Triangle was $35,000. On Project 6, West Pearl Street, they were at $85,200. Baumgartner was $83,400. And then on South Coombs Street, that's the one different one there, they were $120,310, and Triangle was at $120,200. I know it might seem a little convoluted to break it up like that, but I think, unfortunately, it's really the way we have to do it based on how we package this, that these were quotes. This wasn't a bid for the overall project. Mm-hmm. These were individual quotes that happened to be put into a package together. So I think unless we could find a way to disqualify those other contractors, and since they were all invited to participate, I don't see us having the justification to disqualify anybody. So unfortunately, I think we are forced to this situation where we have to award 3 different contracts.
So if we...
Legal counsel, what's your comment?
Yeah, I've spoken to Mr. Krulik about it, and the one thing on the record, Mr. Krulik, I think you've reviewed all of the quotes, and your recommendation to this board is that I believe Grady Brothers had 18 of those projects you were talking about, and it was the lowest responsive and responsible for those 18 projects. Mm-hmm. And then same with Triangle for its 2, and then Baumgartner for its 1. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we quite expected them to have one company maybe have all of, that vast majority of it. We kind of thought having more quotes, we'd have ability to have more options, but I guess when someone came in lower. So,
and in the future, I think we will put these into a bid program where we are bidding all or nothing. But in the interest of time and expediting the project, we decided to quote individual projects. And that led us to this situation where I don't feel we have much choice other than to award how we've recommended it.
Is it possible that one of the contractors could say, thanks but no thanks, and we go on to the next one?
It certainly is possible, but I'll tell you, I have already notified all of them of this, and all 3 contractors have delivered contracts preemptively for us to execute. So.
Okay. So it sounds like they want to do the work then.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion from the board? Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the street paving quote selection based on the bid tabulations of the city engineer, and make those contracts subject to final legal review, and authorize myself to execute those contracts.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, those are approved. Let's pave some streets. All right, next item up is the 320 South Meridian Street Infrastructure Improvement quote authorization. This is also coming from Kevin.
Okay, this, turn the Leroy on here. You've all received this site plan via email from me, but this is looking at a potential project. This is a developer-driven project at just northwest of this building. So this is at the corner of Superior Street and Meridian Street, the northwest corner. This is the area, the grassy area there where the city had previously issued a request for proposals to buy that property, and we are currently working through negotiations on the closing of that property. But this developer is also looking to buy 3 of the 4 homes north of there for his project. So our role in this is going to be simply improving the public infrastructure around that project with the repaving of alleys, relaying some old sanitary sewer pipe systems, and some sidewalks. So all our improvements, although you're looking at an overall site plan for the development project, the improvements that the city will be involved in are purely within the public right-of-way, within the right-of-way of Meridian Street, Superior Street, and the surrounding alleys. These would be the alleys east of the old Kincaid and Estes auto dealership, south of CVS, those alleys in that area. So all I am asking for tonight is your authorization to go out and seek quotes for the work to be done within the public right-of-way by the city of Lebanon.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Does any of this need to be done before they start work? I mean, that's probably upgrading the sanitary lines, I suppose.
It would be done not necessarily before. It would be done concurrently while they're doing that. Is what we're preparing for.
Well, how soon do they think they're going to start?
Ben, could you? He's got the latest conversation with the developer. Probably better to have him answer that one.
Yeah, I think they're intending to start probably in the next couple of months. They were hoping to have the first building open before the end of the year.
Okay.
So again, we're not asking for anything more tonight than just an authorization to seek quotes for this work. And
seeking quotes doesn't necessarily mean we
Right.
authorize it either. So.
Right.
Exactly, right. You're not authorizing the work, you're just authorizing me to seek quotes and/or bids pursuant with Indiana bid law for the construction of these public improvements.
Okay.
We'll be back here to present those quotes to you and hopefully ask you for authorization to award and move forward with that work. And our goal would be to complete this in conjunction with the developer's project.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, and then I would seek a motion to approve the infrastructure, or approve the city engineer to seek quotes concerning the infrastructure improvements near 320 South Meridian Street.
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those here say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that has been approved. All right, next item up is the Indianapolis Avenue reimbursement agreement. This is also Kevin.
Thank you. Once again, this is a fairly straightforward process. This is for utility reimbursement. These are for utilities that are within the right-of-way of Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 that are going to be asked to relocate as part of our reconstruction project. So this reimbursement agreement tonight, and there may be others, but this reimbursement agreement tonight is what we're prepared to present to you. This is for Lebanon Utilities. This is for the relocation of electric poles, and the cost of that relocation is right now is at $128,605.25. Again, there may be more relocation reimbursement agreements that will have to be entered into later. But right now, this is the one that is before us. I should note that there is, I believe, close to $500,000 in our funding agreement with the state and feds for utility relocation. So this is not a surprise. We knew this was coming, and as I said, there will be additional reimbursement agreements to be negotiated here in the coming weeks.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I would seek a motion to approve the reimbursement agreement with Lebanon Utilities concerning the electric infrastructure on the Indianapolis Avenue project, subject to final legal review and authorize myself to sign on your behalf.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Sorry, Jay.
Further discussion? All those here say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that agreement has been approved. All All right, next item is Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 change order request.
Yes, thank you once again. This is supplemental agreement number 1 for right-of-way services associated with designation number 1400790. That is what we affectionately refer to as Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2. There is no cost associated with this change order. This is the perfect type of change order. This is only to adjust contract quantities related to the right-of-way acquisition services that are being provided by Butler, Fairburn, and Seifert. You might say, why? Why? Because the state of Indiana and the federal government require us to dot all the I's and cross the T's, and when the number of right-of-way parcels changes, we have to get that into the contract. So, zero cost change order for Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 right-of-way services.
Okay. Would seek a motion to approve supplemental agreement number 1 for the Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 project.
So move.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those there say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I am.
Oh,
No, I'm not opposed.
Oh, okay.
I'm not opposed, I'm sorry.
You're kind of looking at me funny. I'm like, did I miss something? You kidding? Okay. All right. We're good. All right. Supplemental agreement number 1 has been approved. I'm going to say no money change order.
Jade in a second, I got lost.
All right. And finally here we have East Street change order / project closeout request.
Exactly. I mentioned this in my department head report earlier, but what I have before you is change order number 5 for our East Street project. This is the traditional project closeout change order, just to true up all of our quantities. Again, I won't bother you with going through the details of every line in here that has been sent to you for review. But just know this is this is modifying all of our final quantities. In every line in the contract to zero all those out, to pay the contractor what is due. This was a unit price bid project, so that's what this is for. That's the bulk of what the change order is pertains to. The totals for this change order are broken into 2 contract values. One for the Lebanon Board of Public Works and Safety for $137,350.10. And there is a small change order as well for Lebanon Utilities, but happy to report that is a negative change order in the amount of $18,678.74. So again, these are just truing up all the project values associated with the project. To put that in perspective, this is a $3.5 million job, so I don't know offhand what the percentage of that is. I guess that's about 1%, a little over 1% of the total contract value that we're talking about here. There are 5 line items in this change order that are not in the contract unit prices that had to be broken out separately. I mentioned these earlier. One is for some saw cutting associated with the sidewalk that was poured adjacent to a retaining wall. There was an oversight there on the part of our design consultant that allowed that concrete to be poured directly against the retaining wall. So a relief joint had to be cut in the sidewalk to make sure that our sidewalk doesn't damage the retaining wall through the heave and retraction process of the freeze and thaw systems. That one is for $1,200. Again, because that was a contractor oversight, or not a contractor oversight, an engineer's oversight, that will be paid for by CHA engineers. Then there is some time and materials for removing and replacing of landscape blocks. There is an additional sod mobilization of $600 to get ready for prom. And then there is the replacement of some curb in front of the armory, which again, a 50-foot of curb replaced because it was improperly designed and had to be done to ensure drainage in that area. I keep saying contractor, I apologize. The engineer will be paying for that at a cost of $1,250. And then we did throughout this process switch our sign pole standards to the black powder-coated sign poles that you see in the street department, so beautifully installed around the city. So rather than have East Street stand out as being different sign materials, we do need to pay for that sign material upgrade. Originally it was galvanized steel, and now it is galvanized steel that happens to be powder-coated black.
Okay.
So that was $3,200. So of the entire change order, these new items are $6,793. $2,450 of that will be reimbursed to us by CHA Consultants.
Okay, so really, we're just talking about change order number 5, though, correct?
Change order number 5. That's
Okay.
all included in change order number 5.
Oh, okay, all right, gotcha. Any further discussion, questions from the board? Questions, comments from the public? Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve change order number 5 for the East Street project.
So move.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. All those here say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that has been approved. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
So actually, we had I spoke with Member Stoner before the meeting. So Dave and Tyson, I'm going to need you guys to kind of get with Bill to talk about before we surplus the vehicles. So we're actually not going to bring those items up here tonight under new business. So that concludes what I have for new business. Anything else from the board? Okay, we'll move on to claims. I'm going to entertain a motion.
I move to approve the claims.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the claims and a second. Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims are approved. And would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The city council meeting will begin at 7:15.